sure you can as well. So here we are. It's the start line, 2,112 metres down the track, and away they go. It's the visitors, it's Oxford Falls for intermediate men. That means only international crews can't enter. On the left of our picture, it's Harvard, and on the right, Oxford Brookes University. There's Harvard riding with that crew there. Fantastic, strong crew. They were not tested yesterday, Catherine, in their first round, against Melbourne. Came all the way around the planet, Melbourne, and were disqualified for steering only 40 seconds into the race. So we don't really know what we're going to see from this crew.
I know, and it's such an interesting one because actually you have it's good not to be tested too early, so you can save the energy and that power for later in the week. But actually, if you come in untested, you almost don't quite know yourself.
Well, it looks to me like Oxford Brookes have got the better of them in the first couple of 100 metres. Here's the Brookes crew there, Toby Larson sitting in the bow seat, making the steering. Really nice, clean steering line from Oxford Brookes. They also had a pretty easy first round, beating Isis and London pretty easily, and it looks like they have got out to almost a length ahead of the Harvard crew.
Yeah, and I'm impressed with the look of both of these crews, actually, because they both look relaxed. I mean, although obviously there's a chase coming from Harvard, they still are relaxed and long rhythm, and it's a very blustery course right now. You're not really getting it from these pictures necessarily, but it's quite an unpredictable wind. So to be able to settle into that rhythm, settle into that length, and power down the course is a great start for both of them.
So one of the things I remember rowing into a headwind like this, the wind's at your back, the boat slows down a bit more between strokes, but it also can get underneath the oars. See, as the oars of the Harvard crew there go forward flat, the wind gets underneath them sometimes and just lifts them up a little bit high, and of course you want the oar to be low in the water, exactly where you reach out to. So they're doing pretty well in this condition.
Yeah, and these shots are great because you see how neat that blade work is for Harvard. Just dropping in. You don't want the blade out of the water for much longer than necessary because again it can be caught by these gusts. But they're bringing it down to the water, clean away. But they are, at the moment, they are definitely Oxford Brookes getting the best of them.
Yeah, so some steering going on in the Harvard crew. You can see them just coming towards us as we look at the reverse angle here. You can see the umpire's launch behind. That should be cutting right down the middle line of the course. And the rule here is don't interfere with the other crew. So Harvard straying across, but Brookes still ahead. Looks like Harvard have now started to hang on to Brookes, who were moving away pretty fast in the first period of the race. And you can see the umpire's flag signalling to Brookes to move across. Move across.
I know, and we've talked quite a lot throughout the day and in the different races. I mean, look at that angle. That shows the sort of extreme steering to get you back on the right side of the river. And that often means also the chasing crew is coming close enough that if you are in their water, you can be disrupting them, so the umpire will move them back apart. So it means that Harvard's doing a good job of staying close to Brookes.
Yeah, so that Brookes crew's got a bit of Henley experience. Toby Larson mentioned he's steering from the bow seat there, won the Temple, which is the student men's 8s event a couple of years back, and so that experience in the bow is going to be quite useful. He'll be making calls to the crew, and they look pretty, Harvard look pretty relaxed being under pressure like that. You can just see a couple of words of encouragement there from Thomas Mackey in the 2-seat of the Harvard crew, just trying to get the crew to stabilise. We move down the course a bit. It looks like we've seen Brookes, Catherine, move out a bit further in the last 200 metres there.
Yeah, what we do with this footage, there's a sort of gap as we sort of catch up to the live bit, and suddenly you see in that part of the course, it's quite a crucial part of the course, almost from a mental point just as much as a physical point. If you can do a damage to the opposition at that point, it really breaks people. So I think, you know, again, without much drama, the Brookes crew has put enough work under the water, just move, get that beautiful bit of clear water over the Harvard.
Yeah, and you can see here how from the low angle you can see that it's actually quite wavy, quite poppy. So I think Brookes are moving really quite well in quite difficult conditions, aren't they?
Yeah, and they'll be in that lovely position. When you've got that gap now, they can settle, they can relax, they've got this race well under control, they'll respond if they need to, they've got themselves out of danger. And now it's a bit about, you know, still very technical, still got that rhythm, still testing themselves, but conserving a bit of energy, already probably thinking about tomorrow.
Absolutely. Loved the kind of composure in that Brookes crew. They really just methodically pushed away and pushed away. I think that Harvard held them a little bit after 200 or 300 metres, but then Brookes have really moved again. And that's lovely controlled Coxless 4 rowing in quite tricky windy conditions, isn't it?
Yeah, again, you see those relaxed shoulders, you see the relaxed arms, the blades are just dropping in. As we said before, you do not want sort of waving blades around in those kind of conditions. So just neat, just precise, the position, and the rhythm is it's really lovely to watch. Actually, there's lots of relaxation coming forward. Again, that headwind can start to feel, it's a long course, it can start to feel it's taking its toll, but it doesn't look like it's becoming an effort for them.
And also a couple of Henley wins under the belt of this crew there. Jonathan Cameron at 3, winning in the Foley, and I mentioned Toby Larson having won as well, and that experience really helps just to have the confidence to be able to win down the track, as we've seen so many Brookes crews do over recent years.
I know, we see it time and time again, don't we? They just have an incredible legacy at university, just year after year churning out incredible standard of crews. And again, you know, when you've had people who have been winners, then they don't want to go out on Friday. No one wants to go out this early in the regatta. It's a big pride thing getting through to those final days of racing. And
Harvard still working hard as they try to chase Oxford Brookes. We're now through the middle of the course. Really hard work as those legs stamp down through the Harvard crew, with Ken Copland at bow, Thomas Mackey at 2, Henry Jones at 3, and Tyler Holler sitting in the stroke seat of the Harvard crew, trying to drive them on. But, well, looks to me like Brookes has established a really comfortable pattern. You can see they're not quite striking as many strokes a minute now. That suggests they're feeling very in control, Catherine.
Yeah, and I mean, we all want to be in this position, isn't it? You're coming into the last sort of third of the Henley course. You've got a comfortable gap over your opposition. You feel the rhythm's right. You feel in great control. You don't feel there's anything more needed. But you know you can go to another level if you have to. Meanwhile, you know, the opposition is going to be constantly that sense of over their shoulder. But Harvard look to have shortened up slightly. They aren't quite leaning back into that headwind that it takes down this course, and I think they'll be feeling it about now.
So there's Henley Church leering over the finish line, which you can just see in the distance there. So not too far to go now, about 300-400 metres for both crews to make up. And it's going to be a very tall order for the Harvard crew. They've really tried to push hard through the middle of the race, but Brookes, well, they've just got too much strength and too much power, haven't they?
Yeah, they have, and they've just got that you know, that confidence coming through every stroke of their rhythm. You just know, they know they've got what it takes. They know the gap now, and they'll know this course very, very well. They've rode it, they've competed at it, they've won at it. They know what it takes to get through this last bit right in front of these amazing steers enclosures. They'll have the crowds behind them now.
Yeah, absolutely. We mentioned it's blustery here, and that means it's the wind's swirling around. So the middle of the course, you can just see the umpire there warning Brookes again to stay away from the middle line. They don't want to be impeding Harvard. And umpire Fiona Dennis there, very commanding direction with that white flag signalling that she needs Brookes to be out of the way. Absolutely crazy not to obey the umpire in this Henley course. You don't want to be disqualified, as Melbourne were 40 seconds into their race against Harvard previously. So here we have Oxford Brookes past the enclosures, really have been in control of the race almost from the first stroke.
Yeah, and there's that wonderful moment when you just get this sort of ripple of applause. It's not a dramatic finish, it's not people on their feet sort of, you know, watching that final strokes. It's just that respect from a crowd that realises they're watching a very classy crew.
Well, you're joining us at Henley Royal Regatta Friday as Oxford Brookes move through to the semi-finals of the Visitors Challenge Cup. That's the intermediate men's coxless fours, and Harvard crossed the line. They'll be very tired after that. They had to attack and attack and attack hard, didn't they? But Brookes happy with that great day, nicely in control the whole way.
Yeah, it was a nice piece of forwards rowing from that Oxford Brookes crew. And